Welcome back to Bloody Elbow. Today, I am joined by the King of the North, Nico Carrillo, who will make his featherweight Muay Thai debut in One Championship on April 4th at One Fight Night 30. The first thing that came to mind for me when this fight came around wasn't necessarily the change in weight class, because it's something that's been spoken about for quite some time with you in One. I thought that it was quite a quick turnaround. What was your thought process in terms of getting back in there? I know that 3 months ish isn't necessarily a quick turnaround all the time, but considering the loss and then to go into such a big matchup here against Sitthichai, was it a plan for you to get back in there soon?
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely had to happen. I said in interviews before, my world stood still after that loss, to the point where nothing in my life mattered, nothing at all, apart from getting back in the winners column. And I was in a bad place mentally, and the only place to get out, the only way to get out of that mental dip that I was in was getting back on the horse and getting back in the winners column, and that's the reason. On such a short turnaround, you might be wondering, obviously, about obviously medical suspension and stuff. That was obviously I got my medical suspension. That was done, but honestly, it was the least scathed I've ever came out of a fight. I did get a wee nick at top of the eye, but honestly, I was absolutely fine after the fight. Apart from my heart was broken, but my body was obviously my body, like, from the actual fight, was fine. Um, so
I feel like in terms of an opponent to make your featherweight Muay Thai debut, you couldn't have really asked for someone better than Sitthichai. He seems to be the guy at the moment that one put up against people that they think that they want to make a big impact. We've seen him fight Shadow recent times, Noiri of course as well. So it really feels like one win here against Sitthichai and suddenly you're right up there with the top guys, because it's not fair to call him a gatekeeper at all. He's a legend of the sport, but he does tend to be the guy as of late that these
yeah,
guys face off against.
because of the way you just explained that, it does kind of sound like the gatekeeper, though, doesn't it? The way you explained that really well. But he is a legend. He's an absolute legend. He's probably one of the greatest kickboxers of our modern era. For the last 10 years. So
Yeah, for sure. And Gatekeeper makes it sound like he doesn't belong necessarily in that. Like he is absolutely right in that top bracket of guys.
yeah,
It's like you beat him, and suddenly it's like, well, now you're only looking at one or two names that are above him at all times, right?
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Um, I want to talk a little bit about some of the big fights that we had lately with 1172 in Japan. I'm sure, of course, you were watching closely
Yep,
for Nabil and Superlek.
yep.
A lot of people surprised by that fight, not necessarily in terms of Nabil looking good because he's looked great for quite some time now, but I personally was quite surprised by Superlek's performance. What was your take on the whole thing?
Yeah, going into the fight, I did think Nabil was going to win. Yeah, I was actually quite confident on that. So I was not just saying that because of what happened with us, but then that's just my opinion. I think he's a great fighter. And my opinion on that really stuck after I seen Superlek's body on the scales. Um, he looked in terrible shape. He looked fat. In a fight, and he's a champion at 135, and you can't even make weight at 145. So it says a lot about your training camp and your commitment. I don't know. You never know the ins and outs, but for a 135 or not to be able to make 145, in my opinion, is just crazy. And his body didn't look good at all. Nonetheless, Neville done what he had to do, and he's took out the pound for pound best. So kudos.
People have said for ages about you, like, how could you possibly make bantamweight? And I've been on podcasts with your nutritionist before where he said that Nico's cut is not one of the worst ones that he has to deal with amongst other one championship fighters. And even at featherweight, I'm seeing the photos of you in this camp and being like, how did you ever make bantamweight? So does it
One
surprise you when you see guys like Superlek, who, like you said, used to make flyweight, struggle to hit the bantamweight limit?
No, it doesn't. It surprises me, not because they're big and they're strong or anything, but just obviously they're clearly being lazy. They're clearly not took their opponent seriously. That's the only reason for that, in my opinion. Furthermore, what you says now, I wonder how I made bantamweight as well. Um, I'm looking back on it and realizing how miserable of an experience it was, and now feeling this new weight and enjoying training every day, it made me realize that I've not been enjoying the process at all the last couple of years because of this. And I'm just really happy that that's in the past now, and I'm on to a new I'm on a new journey of enjoying and loving training again, and you know, being excited to fight for the right reasons and not just because you want to eat food.
Yeah, absolutely. When we talk about that kind of dedication and fighters being lazy, another thing that surprised a lot of people at 1172 was Rodtang's performance. I kind of felt like going in that he would have just a huge power advantage that Takeru would kind of struggle with, but it definitely seems from the outside looking in that this fight really brought the best out of him, and maybe we haven't seen that in a long time. Were you surprised
Yeah.
at all by Rodtang's performance?
I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised at all. No, Rodtang just Rodtang just kind of has always like in recent times just fought at the level that he needs to do just to win, and maybe Takeru raised that bar from him, and he'll always just be like there. So whoever he's fighting, he'll just do what he has to do to win. But for Takeru, he was exceptional, wasn't he? Just from the get go, he just looked amazing.
Yeah, it was good to see that version of him back because, like I said, it does feel like it's been a little while. One of the final things I wanted to ask you about, something that I saw on social media that I thought was pretty cool, the work that you did with GSP out at Bang Tao. What was that experience like of getting to do a bit of training with GSP?
Yeah, it was cool. What a nice guy. Just so down to earth. Sorry, mate. Excuse me. Oh, it's getting late over here. Yeah, just such a such a humble, nice guy, and it was a absolute honour to get to do some training with him.
You get quite a lot of like MMA. Obviously, Bang Tao has become one of the hotbeds for combat sports in period, like just period across the board, no matter what rule set
Yeah,
or promotion.
absolutely,
Uh, it's
absolutely.
it's outrageous. But I feel like GSP is one of those guys who, from the MMA world, who could have done really well in striking, even though he doesn't come from a striking background. He just seems to have
Yeah,
the right mentality to pick up these kind of things. Did you feel
yeah.
that?
That exactly his mentality for learning. It was just like an open book.
Yeah.
It was like a sponge. Just all the information, he just took it in. He ran with it. His technique when he was kicking and stuff was really good as well. I was surprised the way he turned his hip over and stuff. So yeah, I was impressed.
Are there other MMA guys that you look at and go, this guy could compete in striking if he had started in striking at an earlier age and really dedicated himself to it?
In MMA,
Yeah,
I mean, you look at all the MMA guys who are the good strikers are the ones that have done striking before it, like Pereira and Adesanya. Um, they two stick out to me the most. Um, yeah,
is there ever any? I'm sure you get asked this all the time. Is there ever any interest in competing in MMA? I know that, like, obviously you have the opportunity to do it in one, and so I know that
but
question gets thrown around a lot.
there absolutely is, and especially being at Bangtao Gym now, where I'm around it a lot. Um, Definitely sparks a big interest for me. My answer to everybody who asks me this is never say never. Um, However, I feel like I've just got a lot of unfinished business and untapped potential in Muay Thai that I really need to tap into. And I won't be satisfied until I do what I have to do in Muay Thai. And when that's done, then I would look at it if it's if it's the right thing to do at the time. But 100% wouldn't say no to it.
Yeah, well, like you said, got a lot of unfinished business and kicking off a bit of a new chapter April 4th with this featherweight run. I'm excited to see it, mate. Excited to see what the featherweight version of the King of the North looks like. I know that we've already said it, but it is insane that you fought a bantamweight for as long as you did. So I'm
I
excited
know.
to see the full potential of a happy Nico Carrillo compete on April 4th.
Yeah, exactly. I've always said a happy fighter's a dangerous fighter, and I'm feeling happy again. So, uh, and the bantamweight, it works until it doesn't,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. So,
Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate your time. And like I said, I can't wait to see it. So I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon. But until then, all the best. And yeah, appreciate your
thank you,
time.
mate. Take it easy, mate. Bye.